It's officially time to slide into summer at Truist Park with great baseball and fun all summer long. Braves fans can enjoy live music in the Battery Atlanta and post-game fireworks every Friday, presented by Georgia Lottery. And new this year, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Park, with a kid-sized field, rock climbing wall, and more, is the perfect spot for your kiddos to hang out. So come spend your summer nights under the ballpark lights. Visit Braves.com/promos to find all the summer details. Atlanta Braves baseball. We are Braves country.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Attack the Baseline, the WNBA podcast where every episode we attack our baseline knowledge of the WNBA. We're your hosts, John and Kristen Barber, and today we're back to talk about the Golden State Valkyries, the newest team to the WNBA. And I'm very excited because also joining us today, we have our friend, a listener Tim, back on the pod for the first time in a while to talk about Golden State. Firstly, Kristen, how are you?
Hello, John. I'm pretty good. I do have a headache. I'm not feeling the best today. But I will say, I did do a pretty 180 this week on the Valkyries. So I am pumped to talk about it.
It's your flu game.
I do not have the flu.
But you're here.
I feel like I have a migraine. I don't really get migraines, but that's what I feel like I have.
Okay. Well, we'll see. Hopefully you're up to snuff to talk about the Valks. Listener Tim, welcome back to the pod. How are you?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I've been good. Very busy season for me just in general. But one of those things I've been busy with that has been very exciting are these Golden State Valkyries. Welcome to Ballhalla, baby.
Yes, Ballhalla.
Yeah.
John went on a little rant to me about Ballhalla today. He said they're not in Ballhalla.
Well, yeah, they're calling it that. I don't know. How tapped in are you in Norse mythology, Tim?
I mean, not as much as you, evidently.
Well, you can only go to Valhalla if you die in battle, and the announcers have said this on the broadcast. It's when they nobly die in battle. So I'm thinking, do they have to lose a game to go? Because how are they dying if they're winning?
Well, isn't the point that that's where the Valkyries are? Is the Valkyries are the ones who say "Welcome to Ballhalla"?
So okay,
that team, they're all dead.
Yeah, we're zombies. It's kind of amazing.
Wow.
There's actually an elementary school in my neighborhood called Ballhalla Elementary.
Really?
So yeah. Well, they're on Viking Drive because the mascot are the Vikings of one of the high schools or one of the colleges actually nearby. So anyway, that's very
interesting.
Niche. And that's why they call them the Valkyries.
Well, there you go. Well, and there's your
really.
Norse mythology rundown for today.
That's right.
So if you're just joining us now, welcome to Attack the Baseline. If you'd like to send us an email and let us know about how you're feeling about the season so far or about your favorite team, you can do so at attackthebaseline@gmail.com. And you can also connect with us on Bluesky and Instagram at ATBPod. We're there. We're talking about the games. It's been a blast. It's been a fun week. And we have a lot to talk about as far as Golden State is concerned. So let's start from the top here. Tim, now that you have a team, we've recorded multiple pods in the past, and it's been mostly theoretical. But now that you have a team to root for, how does that feel?
It's pretty great. Yeah, literally the other 2 podcasts we have done, we didn't know a single person who was going to be on the team. So it's kind of very different. Yeah, no, it's amazing. Yeah, there is a lot of Valkyries hype in the Bay. I was at a coffee shop the other day and someone was wearing Valkyrie stuff. You see it literally all the time. I mentioned the Valkyries today to a group of people and they all like got hyped about it. Yeah, no, people are excited and it's like not totally surprising. But it is cool just to see how much hype there is. Being first in attendance and all that. I have not had a chance to get to a game yet, but we're planning to go to one in a few weeks, which will be super exciting. We'll get to go to Ballhalla. But yeah, no, it's exciting. We're hyped.
Yeah. 18,000 fans every game, 4 consecutive sellouts to lead the league in attendance is really impressive. The fact that everyone's coming out to chase and they're not leaving a seat open. I kind of expected it because of how popular the W is, but maybe not to the extent that it's 18,000 strong every time. And I don't see any reason that it would ever drop off right now.
Yeah, for sure. There's like some initial excitement stuff. But one, and I'm sure we'll talk about this, the team has been way more competitive than a lot of people expected. And so you're seeing competitive basketball for the most part, but also just, as the team identity and team roster becomes just more established, I think that, some stars eventually emerge or join the team. I feel like, it's on the upward trajectory. I just think like, the Bay has like always had some really good basketball fans. Like back in the Oracle days when the Warriors were in Oakland, like we were bad and we were still selling out. And now kind of the reputation of the Warriors is kind of like they're in San Francisco now. Everything's super expensive. It's like gentrified. But there's still always that, in the Steph Curry era, just this Bay Area excitement for basketball. And so with the Valkyries now here, there's that same basketball excitement that's carrying over with the lower ticket prices too. So it is more accessible for a majority of fans. It's still all the way out in the city, but it's still really exciting. And it's good.
And I do think the Valkyries as an organization have really contributed to these fans coming. Like they have created the culture of this team and they're like really hammering it home and really sticking to it. Like every single thing is branded. You have their on the TV, you have their green screen in the background. Like you're immersed.
Well, yes, you could say that.
And like, I think the fans love it.
I hope that the fans love it. I think the intro video is a little much for me, but you got to establish this brand, like you say, and they are doing a good job of making it feel like, the Valkyrie vibe.
Yes.
So I'll give them credit there. Now you mentioned the team being way more competitive than would have been expected. Right now, as it stands, there are games going on, so this may change as we're recording this, but Golden State, after their win the last night against the Aces, are 3-5, and they're the 8th seed in the standings right now. Very, very crazy. They started with an over-under of 7.5 games. They're going to, I don't know for sure if they're going to blow by that, but let's just talk about where were your expectations when the season started, because I know Kristen and I both had them at the bottom of the rankings, but it's very clear that they're not the worst team in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I saw a single news outlet or whatever rank them higher than 13th coming into the season, which was totally fair. That's where I was. That's what I was expecting. The last 2 expansion teams won a combined like 8 games, right? I was not expecting much, and I think a lot of fans were just excited that it was going to be here, But it's interesting when your team is filled with role players, There's obviously some huge issues, especially on offense. We might talk about that a little bit. But at the same time, role players, like in order to be a role player in basketball is like, you need to give it 110%. Like you need to go all out. Like that's how you stick in the league. And that's what you're seeing these players do. And you see like when they are being really successful, it's because they're doing all those effort plays. They're getting those rebounds. They're creating turnovers, and then just going for it. And that's kind of their best offense right now, unfortunately. But that's, how they've been able to be so competitive in these games. Play great defense, or at least try on defense. And be opportunistic,
Yeah, right. Third in the league in steals right now.
Yeah.
This afternoon. Very, very capable at doing that.
Kayla Thornton, the steals leader in the W.
She's been playing really good ball. And yeah, like you said, they're just trying hard on defense. It doesn't always create wins, but in the games where they do win, it's because they've got good defensive schemes. And I do have to credit the coaching staff for making the players invested in their roles on the team. Like we had conversations when they cut Cheyenne Sellers about like, what is the organization doing? And we probably overreacted in that moment because Nikase has impressed me a lot as, this head coach. She's taken that role and she's winning games that people aren't expecting her to win. So you got to give the team credit for that.
Oh yeah. And I think that so much of the goal of this year is just proving that the Valkyries are a competent organization that players will want to play for because of the CBA changes. Because once the new CBA comes in, then everyone's a free agent, basically, with a few exceptions. Like, this team could have almost none of the same players next year.
Right.
Which is crazy, right? I think it's Carla Late and Kate Martin are the only two who are signed past this year. There's a few other restricted free agents. They'd have like more control of their players. But yeah, like, so what they're trying to do is they're trying to prove like we're an organization that is going to treat players right and also has a good coaching staff, good front office. Certainly like the Cheyenne thing, like, even though I agreed or I didn't agree, like I was like, I don't have enough information to know like, why they did or didn't cut her. Probably something medical related, but who's to say? So like, obviously like that's like, hard for sure. But I think it's kind of proven to be like, okay, they made probably the right decision considering she hasn't, stuck in the team yet.
Right.
Wish her all the best. Like I'm sure she can still get there when she is healthier. I think that's like what this year is about, is like showing that we are a place that you want to play in.
I mean, I think they're doing that.
Oh, absolutely. And, we figured that people were going to be, players were going to be excited to get over there. And then you see what they did in free agency, and it wasn't necessarily to the same extent that we had expected. But when you build a culture like this, then you're going to get the free agent signings next year or the year after that, or eventually it'll come with time. And yeah, like you said, if it's going to be a whole brand new team, especially with a double expansion draft next season, like it's going to be chaotic, but you just got to establish that baseline, and they're doing a good job there. So let's talk about the games from this week. We had the Valkyries go 1-2. They surprise us. They beat the Aces. They blow out the Aces, and they lose a game that they were ahead, and they fall off on another game. So starting from the top, Valkyries versus Minnesota. Tim, I'll open it to you. This was a game that was a week ago at this point, but like, any takeaways from catching this one? Anything that you saw?
Yeah, certainly was a game where they were competitive early. Obviously Minnesota is the class of the league, or one of the best teams in the league. But then certainly as they began to lose control in the game, like, it was not ultimately what was the final score again on that one? Okay, they lost by 11.
So probably a little better than would be expected.
Yeah, probably a little bit fake closer than it felt like in that fourth quarter. But yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing, is like, you're hoping that they can compete with these teams give fans a good game and want them to continue to follow the team. That's the first goal of an expansion team. But like someone like Minnesota is a really good team.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, and you know, they lose this game and they lost to New York a couple weeks ago, but they're both playing. They both played those games very competitively. They were in it at times, especially in this game. They were doing quite well in the first half, and then their offense sort of stagnated in the back half, which is why they ended up losing here. But just a player that I would want to focus on if we're talking about this game was the Kate Martin moment. She was incredibly on in the first half of this game. Couldn't miss. She had an and one on a three. She was lighting. She had another couple and ones, and it was an exciting time for the announcers to remind us that the Martinis, who are her fan base, were letting them know how well of a game that Kate was playing. How have you enjoyed watching Kate so far this season? Because she's a fan favorite.
Yeah. So I'm going to be honest. I am kind of really pretentious hipster, kind of like, oh, everyone knows who Kate Martin is just because of Caitlin Clark, you know. She's not actually that good or whatever. I feel like that's my default mindset going in. And then this week when I was really trying to like zero in, I mean, it helped this was her best week. Kate extremely impressed me this week. I was very impressed. She made a lot of like really good shots in that first game.
Yeah.
But it was really the game yesterday. I was really impressed with some of the stuff she was doing. Like she was playing out of pick and roll and like finishing well. She had this floater over Asia that I was like, I did not think she could get that off. And you know, she killed it. So I was really impressed, like kind of she was getting some good looks and some good shots. And she is someone who I think her 3-point shot is mostly for real. And so I actually think that, you know, she might actually be like a real player here and someone who like, I don't blame the organization for kind of prioritizing, kind of pushing out there. You know, I don't think she's ever going to be, you know, I don't know, Caitlin Clark, obviously.
Sure.
But as someone who's a very competent role player, or maybe even, you know, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but maybe even as like a starting shooting guard at some point. I think that's something that she could really do. She has that effort level we were talking about, and has that shot, and so that's a nice combination to have in a supporting cast player.
Kristen, you made a face when he said starting shooting guard.
Yeah, who said that? Me. I don't know who I forget who came at us and said Kate Martin shouldn't start, will never start. She did start the first game or two.
Yep.
I think rightly so, moved to the bench. But Tim is right. Like, she had an incredible week. So, especially as I guess we'll talk about later, like so many of these pieces are going to be going to Eurobasket. Like, she's not. So you might have to move things around. And I think she could get another try on the starting lineup.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And she's had extra time this week. We should talk about Tiffany Hayes, who was the big star acquisition that the team brought in free agency. We only got her for this first game because she's been struggling through a nose injury. But like, any thoughts on Tip thus far, Tim?
I think she's the player who kind of gives this team the most legitimacy. And kind of was like, see, we're a real team, you know? She's definitely good. She has the on the ball creation ability that really nobody else in this team kind of has, which is fine, you know. I mean, but that is something that I think this team, especially as they're like kind of tend to struggle when they're in the half court trying to score and get good looks. She's someone who I think can kind of, you know, make her move, get to the basket or take a shot. And so I think she's definitely one of the best players here. I would say. I think that's a controversial opinion.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think I was just so sad that we couldn't see her this week, really. Yeah. Because she came back after missing a whole week. She had her nose mask on, her face mask, because she, I guess, had broken her nose. Yes.
She looked good at it. It was cool.
So many players have those right now. And then this like horrible play where she's like pushed to the sideline. She hits her mask off of somebody's knee, and she gets up and she's holding her nose again, and her nose is dripping blood. It's like, oh God, she just like broke her nose again.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah, she's going through it a little bit. But we are wishing her all the best. I just don't, unfortunately, we don't have as much content to talk about her this week as I would have hoped going into the week. But yeah, just wishing Tiffany Hayes all the best here.
Yeah, don't touch her nose.
Don't touch her nose.
Stop.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Summer's here, and with weekend getaways, celebrations, and more on your calendar, Nordstrom has everything you need for your best dress season ever. From playful prints and breezy fabrics to 70s-inspired looks and bright handbags. Discover new arrivals from your favorite brands like Reformation, Veronica Beard, Farm Rio, Levi's, and more. It's easy too, with free shipping and free returns, in-store order pickup, and more. Plus, Nordy Club members enjoy free 2-day shipping on thousands of items in select areas. Shop today in stores and at Nordstrom.com.
Support for this podcast comes from Progressive, America's #1 boat insurer. We've all made mistakes on the water, but there's one mistake you shouldn't make: being uninsured. With Progressive Boat Insurance, you can choose coverage for most mistakes you or other boaters could make, helping you float carefree all season long. Quote today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. #1 rating based on boat market share data from ratefilings.com.
When living with cancer, it's important to be informed and know what to expect. But finding the right information can feel overwhelming. That's why UnderstandCancerTogether.com is here to help. We've gathered practical information and resources based on where you are in your cancer journey, so that you can focus on the important conversations and decisions of today. UnderstandCancerTogether.com, helping you navigate life with cancer, one moment at a time.
So let's move here and talk about the Mercury game. You said you had the opportunity to check this one out. Just to set the stage in this one, the announcers let us know that going into this game, Golden State was 4th in the league in steals. They're since 3rd in the league in steals now. And Phoenix at that time was 1. So this was a game between two teams that are quite capable at stealing the ball. And it ends up being so that Phoenix kind of steals the game entirely here from Golden State. Any takeaways on this one?
Clearly, I know that the Valkyries are the most international team in the league, but I didn't realize that they traveled so much.
They did.
Yeah, I mean, some of those travel calls, I was a little bit like, those are definitely not NBA travel calls, but they are WNBA travel calls. Yeah, I mean, this was one where I thought that they had it. I mean, I think they were ahead in the last 3 minutes. And just, couldn't get those like end of game kind of good looking shots in order to keep that lead. I will tell you one person who did impress me. So full disclosure, I watched the Aces game live, and I had the Mercury game recorded, so I went back to it last night. And Temi was someone during the Aces game where I was kind of like, Temi is like, I don't know. I kind of prefer Mo in some of these looks. But I thought Temi was actually pretty good in the Mercury game from what I saw. Like, she was finishing her shots a lot better, like showed a little bit more of that touch. And she had like some really nice defensive plays where she's like playing help and recovering and stuff. I was like, okay, I get why Temi is the starter here now. She's definitely, which I kind of in my mind have them as more interchangeable, her and Mo, but that's clearly not the case. Yeah, and then also her taking those threes is kind of
I had a note here that like she took a 3. She had a really nice stretch where she had a 3 that looked really natural, and then she had a breakaway layup. She played good D on Satu. So I was a fan of Temi last year when she was with Indiana. She spent a good portion of that year dealing with injury. So to see her here and see her healthy, and just being the longest player that they kind of realistically have. One of the things that she impresses me the most is her ability to handle the lob coming in from behind the 3-point arc. If she's in the paint, she can just reach out and get it when you think it would go out of bounds, and then just get an easy lay to score there. So she's been quite good. She's had moments where she's been off and on, but I've enjoyed Temi so far as well.
Yeah, I thought this game was the game in general. I thought it was a very sloppy game in general. Although it was like, I don't know, interesting to watch. So like, wow, both of these teams are just like messing up everywhere. But I do think the defense, like especially at the beginning, I think was really good. They forced like 7 turnovers by the Mercury in the first 5 minutes, which was great. You mentioned Satu. They held Satu to only 4 points in the first half.
Yeah. Like
really shutting her down. So they were good. And I think the end is where it got very complicated and upsetting.
Sure.
But the whole rest of the game, like both teams were playing sloppy, but it was going in the Valkyries' favor until the end.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about it if you want to talk about it. Like 8-point lead with 3 minutes to go, and travel call on Julie Von Lowe. Lexi Held was nuclear from beyond the arc.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
She was crazy. Veronica Burton was fouled. She misses a free throw. Satu had a really tough and one that put Phoenix up 3, and then Veronica Burton smokes a layup.
Well,
by a mile.
Did you notice? Yeah, like right before Veronica Burton missed the layup, there was a play where, well, it was a rebound, and both Julie Von Lowe and Kayla Thornton went for it. It was like in baseball, where they like hit each other and none of them get it. Both of them like stopped because they thought the other person was going to get it, and it went out of bounds.
Yep.
You're like, okay.
Out of bounds on them.
Great.
And then, a really rough last 20 seconds for Stephanie Talbot, who tosses the ball out of bounds and then tosses it directly to Monique Koamakani. So just about everything that could have gone wrong went wrong there for them.
Stephanie Talbot, who got how many minutes in the Aces game after all of that?
Very.
She basically had 0 minutes in this game. It was just like right at the end, she's screwing everything up. That was weird. It was weird to put her in.
Well, I don't know. She must prove in practice to be, a capable inbounder, but in this case, things didn't go her way. I actually want to mention that because I'm curious what your thoughts are, Tim. I notice that Nikase likes to go with the all bench lineup from time to time. Are you pro all bench lineup? Like, do you usually like to keep someone on from the starters?
I mean, generally, I would say I'm anti all bench lineup, like the platoon style kind of thing. I will say that this situation is a little bit different, where you don't really have like a star.
Right.
I'm very used to this as a Warriors fan. Steve Kerr will put in all bench units and keep both Steph and Draymond off, and it's like, what are we doing here? We just gave up 8 points in a row or whatever. And in those instances, I don't like it. When you have a couple of players who can kind of like steady the ship. But here, when so many of these players are like pretty even, I don't mind it quite as much, and just trying to get chemistry with one another. But really, I mean, I kind of think that early in the season, you kind of just want to be trying a bunch of different combinations of players and see what kind of sticks, what kind of works. So that's kind of my preference, maybe. So maybe a little bit less platooning, but I get why it's not as bad here as it would be in, if the Aces, for example, were putting out all bench units, that'd be pretty questionable.
especially considering their bench.
Now, something interesting that I noticed was when we first started like the week, and I'm writing down everyone's names and their numbers so I like can more easily tell them apart. I just tend to write the players down as they come in from the bench. So then I tend to have like who comes in what order, just for the first game, really. And Kate Martin was the last one to come in the first game.
Right.
Pretty late. And then she ended up being like the first one to come in these other games. So they are switching it up.
Didn't play in any of these games.
Yeah, we're not talking about Carla late.
No, not really.
Well, things changed after you take Tip out of the starting five after game one. You replace her with Cecilia Zanolcini, and then you sort of shift everybody up.
Sure.
And then it ends up that Kate is the first person coming off the bench, as opposed to probably would have been Chechi or maybe Carla in certain cases. I don't know.
I will say, the one thing I did notice something about Carla late, because she played like a few minutes in the second game, really none at all.
I don't think she played any in the last game.
Well, something that I noticed, and correct me, I don't know if you didn't notice this, but there was a couple plays where she like was trying to drive to the basket all by herself and like went right into like 3 defenders and then like either shot it and was blocked or like was a turnover.
Right. Unable to kick it out or something.
Yeah. Why are you doing that? Just pass it. Like she did it a couple of times. Like she's just trying to go to the basket when clearly you cannot at this moment do that.
Yeah. Tim, you've been a proponent of letting Carla cook.
Let Carla cook. Yeah. She is one of the youngest players in the entire league. I believe she's 21. I think she has a lot of potential. But honestly, in general, this team, in terms of passing, is pretty rough. Van Loo has some good stuff, but she's only 5'8", so she can't always see every pass or anything like that. There's a few times, even yesterday, when like they're killing the aces, where I was like, oh, this person's wide open, but they just aren't seeing it. And so Carla's not the only one, or that's the case, but certainly I would love for Carla to get more of a run. She has a reputation as being a good defender for her size and position. And ultimately she is the most likely person other than Kate Martin to be on this team next year. And so I do think that they, have plans for her. I don't think it's just they're burying her kind of thing. They probably just are waiting for some more development because again, she's young and not that good yet.
Yeah. While we're talking about Carla Late, one of the French national players on this team, I want to take a moment to talk about Chanel Salon, who was probably the player that surprised me the most this week. I made a note specifically in the second game about just like, wow, how impressive her game was to me. And you go and look at the box, and I think she had maybe 9 points and a rebound, and that was basically it. So like sometimes the stats don't pop, but her on the screen certainly popped. There was this one play in particular where it sort of broke down, and she was able to relocate, going in reverse behind the arc and knock down a 3. And I was just really impressed by her ability to relocate there and just be aware of her surroundings. I think her build and her height and everything that she, like all the tools that she has, I think she could be like sneakily one of their best players that they're going to have on their team. And I would hope that they prioritize keeping her for the future here, especially if they're going to keep Carla Late, because the two of them are already kind of close because of their French nationality.
She's definitely someone who I think has impressed a lot. I meant to mention this earlier, but just the 3-point identity of this team in general is really interesting. I thought it was interesting during the expansion draft, even they were talking about like, what are we prioritizing in players? And one of the things they mentioned was, Golden State basketball is about shooting threes, which is so funny because it's such like a Steph thing, Steph and Clay. And I mean, for a lot of these Warriors teams don't have any good 3-point shooters outside of those two over the past few years. But it's like it's so funny that that's like they're trying to make their identity.
Mhm.
And it's led to, some very mixed results because they're first in the league in 3-point attempts
Mhm.
and they're last in 3-point percentage.
We wrote it down. We had it. We had
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And, I know that there's people who think that the 3-pointer is killing basketball and all this stuff. And there were a few times where they were doing my least favorite shot, which is a bad shooter dribbles it up and then shoots it like 3 seconds into the shot clock. That is my least favorite shot.
Yeah,
I don't mind shots, 3-point shots when you're creating it, like,
Sure.
either off the dribble or, through passing and stuff like that. That's totally fine. It's when it's like, you shouldn't be taking that shot. You can get a better shot. Well,
Mhm.
I say that. And I also think that there's a reason that the Valkyries specifically are doing this, is because that probably is a better look than they're going to get when they actually try to, pass and make a play because
Sure.
Well,
their offense
I
isn't
think
that good.
that was one of my main takeaways, I think, from this Aces game was
Yeah.
so many of the shots. I was like, what? But
Yes.
then they went in.
Yeah.
Like so
Yep.
many of
Yeah.
those shots, I was like, you should not have done that. But it just
Yep.
worked in this game. It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. But I do want to say about
Uh-huh.
Janelle Salon. She is someone who I think is a real 3-point shooter.
Mhm.
She's shooting 35% right now off of oh, sorry, that's her 2-point percentage. My bad. She's shooting 36% off of 5 attempts per game. As I just said, she's also shooting 35%. She's shooting worse on twos. And if, especially in that Aces game, I was kind of like, she's taking some bad shots here. Like she is taking some like kind of self-created kind of long twos with like no arc also that are being contested still. And she made one of them, but I was kind of like, man, she has some real like talent and skill here. She's a good rebounder too. I just don't know if like, and I get like this team needs, especially with Tip out, like they need some kind of self-created kind of shots. But it was a little bit like, I feel like we could have gotten her a better look here,
Sure.
But certainly that relocate 3 that you were talking about, John, definitely stood out to me as well as like, okay, that was a very nice play from her. She knew what to do in that. I do wish she would cut down on her fouling though. That was a little bit rough in the third game, at least.
Yeah. Well, then let's move over and talk about that Aces game because this is the surprise of the week. The new career high, the biggest win differential in Valkyries history. ESPN reports after 8 games, 95-68 win, a 27-point margin for this Valkyries team. Quite impressive over the Aces, who have had a bit of a rough start to this season, to say the least. But 95 points. I'll let you start. Like, what were your main takeaways here?
Yeah, no, there was a lot really interesting about this game. Again, I was talking about earlier, some of the stuff Kate Martin was doing was really cool. But I do think that, a lot of those points came from Kayla Thornton, who was very much, as Kristen was kind of alluding to earlier, some of those shots that she was taking, I was like, what is she doing? And then she was draining them. She came in as a 19% 3-point shooter, I think, into the game. And she's like taking, 20 seconds left on the shot clock and she's pulling up and draining it, and I was like, no. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so that really was helpful. But I mean, the other thing was just creating a lot of transition opportunities through turnovers. And really that's where Veronica Burton is kind of shining. I think is that she's someone who's taking advantage of those and just trying to get to the hoop. So she was somebody who impressed me in that way. It kind of took me a while. I was taking notes on every player in that game, and it took me a while to like actually have stuff for her. But once I did start writing stuff down for her, like noticeable plays, it was a lot of like, transition layup for Veronica Burton, oh, good energy from Veronica Burton. So that was really cool. And then the other player who I think really impressed me and who I'm really high on and might be my favorite player is Xanda Lassini.
Sure.
I think she knows how to play basketball. She's all these women do, but she really does. she is making some really smart and really good shots, has a very nice stroke, on the court.
Yeah.
And she also had some really good vision. There was that one play towards the end where she found, I forgot who it was, but somebody right underneath the basket, and she just whipped it to them and got the layup. And that was very cool. I think she's definitely someone who would be a valuable piece, I think, on a lot of teams with given the opportunity. And so I don't know what this team is going to be like at the trade deadline or anything like that, what they're going to end up doing. I would certainly like to keep Zandalacini because I think she's good, but definitely seems like a piece that can play on good basketball teams. 47% on threes with 4 attempts per game. Like, she's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think if she was on any other team last year, other than Minnesota or New York, maybe, like they would have protected her and kept her.
Mm-hmm.
But those teams are just so loaded that you don't really have a choice. But I think it is like the 2 best players, Zandalacini and Kayla Thornton, are from the Lynx and the Liberty.
True.
Who have so many players, they just couldn't protect those 2 really good players.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
To give some flowers to Veronica Burton here, a double with assists, relatively rare in the W. It's pretty rare for a player to have 10 plus assists in a game. She ends the game with 12. She was very much on triple double watch going into the third quarter. Just a very impressive game from her, especially considering the ups and downs we talked about for her in that game against Phoenix. Having 5 players in double figures is exactly what you want. It's pure team basketball. It's everybody getting a little piece of the pie. And even if some folks had, a down game, maybe a Julie or a Janelle Salon, other players came and picked them up. And that's how you get an impressive win over the Aces. I think for me in this game, the fact that they were able to clog the paint and prevent Asia from getting easy baskets and forcing the Aces to shoot threes, which didn't go in. We look at like the opposite situation, even though Golden State only hit somewhere in the mid to low 30s on threes in this game. It really felt like they were just hitting everything, even if the stat sheet didn't say that. And just the Aces had no answers.
I took more like generalized notes on this game. I was on the train coming home watching it. But I think just like it really just seemed to strike me how much freedom these players seem to have. Like, I'm sure they're drawing up plays and, giving them an idea of what they want them to do, the coaches. But it seems like, they have a lot of freedom in where they want to shoot the ball and when they shoot the ball. And like it seems like the players really are not afraid to shoot from wherever they are, even if they have like Kia Stokes right in their face, like they'll shoot it. And in this game, they went in. And I think in other games, they won't. And I think it's going to, this kind of strategy will not always pay off the way it did in this Aces game. So some games it's going to be very poor shooting, I'm sure. But in this game, I don't know, the shots were just going in, and that feeds off of each other. But it just seems like they're having fun. They're not afraid because really, like, they're not trying to win a championship this year. So shoot, and they're getting good experience doing that. They're learning what's working. And it seemed like a fun game for them. The defense, again, was awesome, especially by Temi and Mo Billings on Asia, really, particularly. So I thought it was great.
Yeah. Positionless basketball.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting and kind of, I wasn't expecting they put out both Mo Billings and Temi in some lineups. And I was like, well, I guess when Asia's out there, kind of makes a little bit of sense. But yeah, I thought they were good at throwing the doubles at her. And they got lucky with some bad shooting from a couple of Aces players who are pretty good. But overall, yeah, I think that it was a really good home team energy kind of win. And that's all you can ask for.
Absolutely.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Think you know your breaking point? If you're a woman with weak bones due to osteoporosis after menopause, sadly, you may not. Women can lose up to 20% of their bone density within 5 to 7 years after menopause, making bones weaker and more likely to break. And after the first fracture, we're 5 times more likely to break another bone within a year. It could happen from a simple slip or just bending to lift a bag of groceries. Don't wait for a breaking point. Visit bonebreakingpoint.com to learn about how osteoporosis medications can reduce the risk of fractures.
Surprise bill? Need fast funds? CashNet USA can help. When you need money fast, be the hero.
Apply in minutes at cashnetusa.com and get a fast decision. All loans subject to lender approval. Speed of funding is subject to verifications and your bank's processing times.
Offer valid on standard browsers, U.S. only.
When I heard about Date My Age, I thought, really? But there I was in my empty, quiet house, my laptop on the kitchen counter, and I typed in my name. Looking for a man between the ages of 40 to 60? Sure, why not?
Date My Age is different. With verified profiles, you can feel safe and secure to explore meaningful connections with interesting and mature singles.
Date My Age made it really easy. I could join and view online profiles for free. All of a sudden, my empty house wasn't so quiet anymore. I got so much attention, it just made me feel seen and alive. Date My Age helped me start a totally new chapter in my life.
Find a friend, a lover, a partner at Date My Age. Get 60% off when you join at datemyage.com today. That's datemyage.com to connect with thousands of singles worldwide. datemyage.com.
All right, so let's start to wind this one down. We have a couple questions that we got from friends of the show, a couple emails coming in with questions about this Valkyries team. We'll start with one here from friend of the pod, Travis, who sends us an email saying, what do you think a good mascot for the V's would be? Tim, have you thought about this at all? We shared these questions with you. I don't know where I fall, but we'll let you go first if you have anything.
I mean, what's Sky Guy up to these days? I'm just kidding.
He's available.
I think Sky Guy is the funniest mascot ever. How did that get past any round of marketing?
Sky Guy.
No, I mean, I think, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a tough one because you can either have the I don't know if you want the person, do you know what I mean? The person with the wings and stuff like that, because then that person's gonna change. I don't know. That's a little weird. But then if you're doing the huge cartoon mascot, wear a mask kind of thing, fake head kind of thing.
Yeah,
that could look kind of corny and that's good in some capacities. It's good if it's Sky Guy. But I think the Valkyries kind of seem like they're taking themselves kind of seriously. This kind of vibe in all their marketing and branding, and so I don't really know if that would fit. So I don't know. Is there some sort of creature from Norse mythology maybe that could be the mascot? I don't know. Have you guys thought about this?
Yeah, what do you think?
I mean, I was thinking those things also. Could it just be a Valkyrie, whatever that really is, or some kind of horse, Pegasus? But the wings,
already have those.
The wings have a horse with wings. I don't really know where How to Train Your Dragon fits in, but I was like a dragon.
Could do a dragon.
You could do a pretty purple dragon.
Oh, a violet. The violet. I'm trying. Maybe just an animal that starts with V. We didn't think about that.
What, a vulture?
No, that's lame. I don't know. I honestly, you can't do a horse.
You could just do a horse.
I disagree. But Well, yeah, when you look up pictures of animals that are associated with Valkyries, it's like them riding in on a Pegasus. And you're like, well, that's just part of another team's branding.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, Tim, that you can't just do a person. That is like, those are the lamest mascots.
Yeah. It's not
No
fun.
disrespect to Sky Guy.
Of course not.
But yeah, I guess you're right. A creature from Norse mythology.
Well,
I guess
share your eagle, because I know you want to.
No, I was like, oh, what about if it was a harpy eagle? Because there's no bird mascots.
Do you know what that is?
Have you ever heard of a harpy eagle?
I didn't know what that was.
It's one of the biggest birds in the world, and there are no bird mascots, and I think that is surprising. However, a harpy and a Valkyrie are two different mythoses, so I kind of shot myself in the foot, unfortunately.
Okay.
So I don't think it's going to be harpy eagle, but I just think it's a striking animal, and I think doing like a predator, like a big bird, would be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll see. And it has wings, so that would be helpful.
Yeah.
But I do think the team needs a mascot.
It has to have wings, yeah.
But they take themselves serious enough that maybe they don't want a mascot.
Yeah.
Anyway, hope that answers your question, Travis,
Mm-hmm.
who also emails in asking us about whether or not the Valkyries are the most internationally diverse team. And Tim, I'll give you a chance to talk about this too, but looking at the current roster as it sits, there are 6 international players on their active roster and 2 suspended contracts of international players who could potentially be a part of the team in years to come, in Ilyana Rupert and Maria Conde, which makes an interesting situation with the upcoming Eurobasket, because there are a number of players that will be in Europe playing in that tournament. Tim, just your thoughts on the replacement of players as leave town for that big tournament.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, that's not even considering Eustace, who like did not come over because of Eurobasket.
That too.
And so Valkyries definitely have an international focus, which I think they're taking advantage of kind of those players getting overlooked for so long. And so I think it's proving to be an advantage for them. But yeah, certainly it's going to be pretty interesting, what these Eurobasket teams will be like. I'm hoping maybe I don't know if this is a CBA question, probably not, but like, I'm hoping once Eurobasket comes around next time that maybe the W and Eurobasket have more of an agreement of like taking, matching up their breaks and stuff like that. I feel like that could be really good, especially as more international players are coming over. My understanding was like there was a lot of international players kind of initially, and then it faded over time, and then in recent years has kind of started surging a little bit more. And so, and I'm expecting that to continue. And so, certainly, I don't know. Kristen, do you want to come out to the Bay for a few weeks and suit up for the Valkyries?
Be on the team.
Yeah. They might be hurting for some people. So,
oh god,
I heard you have you have a wet jumper or something?
No, I'm good at defense.
Oh, yeah, she's more of a pest.
Right. I'm a defender.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you fit right in.
I won horse a couple weeks ago.
Okay. A couple weeks ago,
playing with John and his friends.
Yeah, no, she's capable. Good. She can knock down a shot.
Do you have like a horse shot that's like your shot?
Nope.
Yeah,
she's fine.
You can do anything.
Yeah.
Anything and everything.
I was really trying the corner threes last time. They weren't falling. I'm working on that.
Working on a corner three. Well, that's important. That if you're going to be in the W, then you got to have a capable corner three.
I know.
And just to top off the international aspect of the Valkyries, I read there was an article about how international players are, like you said, Tim, starting to come back into the league. I think there's 34 international players now, up from 25 last season. And there was just this interesting anecdote about how, we've talked about Salon and Late and how they're native French. They often will speak to one another in French. There are a number of other players. Julie Van Loo is fluent in French, and a number of players communicating in this way has made Coach Natalie Nakase say, I think I'm just going to learn French, because sometimes their mode is to speak out in French, and Nakase doesn't know French, so she needs to be able to communicate with her players. But I think that's also an important thing to do in a culture set of like figuring out the best way to communicate with amongst your players is 2 thumbs up. So I'll give her all the credit if she ends up coming to post-game interviews and is fluent in French by the end of the season. That would be pretty wild.
That would be.
She's on Duolingo.
Maybe she's cooking up on Duolingo. Who knows? And then we have one other email coming in from a friend of the pod, James, who asks Tim, who are your faves? Who are your, let's say, who are your 3 favorites right now at this juncture in the season?
Yeah. Okay. Zandalicini for sure. I think, really think that she's good, makes good plays. I think she is good. I feel like I'm going to say Kate Martin, which is crazy. But again, she really impressed me this week. And then third, I don't know. I mean, I like all these players pretty much. Pretty fine. I think that, I'm hoping Janelle Salon gets there. She's not quite. I really liked Veronica Burton's just energy and be able to desire to get to the rim and stuff. But I'll go with Mo Billings. She is someone who I think has also really embraced the team. There was a Warriors game that she did color commentary for, and I thought that, considering she had never done anything like that before, and just throwing her in, I thought she did a really good job. And I like her feel around the basket too. I think that she's pretty good. So that's what I'll go with. But I mean, I like all these players. They're pretty good. Also learn to not get attached to too many of them.
That's very true. That is our email segment. Again, if you'd like to send us an email and let us know if you have any questions about teams that we're covering, please do so at our email, attackthebaseline@gmail.com, or just send us a DM on Bluesky or Instagram at ATBPod. Tim, as we close out here, one last question for you. Like, overall expectations now that you're seeing competitive basketball, where do you think this team ends up at the end of the season? Give me your gut check standing rankings, and then how you feel about 2026 and beyond.
That's a good question. I'm going to go with 11th.
Okay.
11th? Sounds about right. I could anywhere between 10 and 13, I think, is sort of reasonable. Maybe not 13, considering how some of these teams are playing. But
sure.
But the Eurobasket thing will for sure affect their standings, how they're doing. But certainly, like, for me, I came in kind of really hoping for getting good draft luck for this at the end of this year. Be in the lottery and hopefully get one of those bigger names. But kind of like as we're approaching the 2026 draft, it is kind of like there's kind of a few names that at the top. American wise, you have like Lauren Betts and Flauge and Olivia Miles, and none of them are quite at the like Paige or Caitlin or even Cam Brink tier, I think. But I am kind of, talking about international flavor. Awa Pham, or Awa Pham, I need to figure out how it's pronounced. I think a lot of people say that she's the most talented player in this draft. She's only 19. She's from Spain, 6'4" post player who has just kind of unreal kind of feel, polish, IQ for the game, incredible passer for a big. And she's someone who's just like, this screams Valkyries pick to me. And so if I'm hoping that they could get her, because I think she would kind of fit in well with a lot of what they're trying to do. I don't really think I'm a UCLA fan. I don't really think Lauren Betts kind of fits in with what they're trying to do. I could be wrong about that. So it'll be interesting to see with that, but I do hope that building through the draft, I think is generally a good way to build, contenders. But at the same time, like with everyone being a free agent, there will be stars looking for places to land, and Sabrina could come home. I don't know why she'd ever leave the Liberty at this point, but certainly a possibility.
Certainly.
Yeah, it definitely is a possibility.
No, I listened to her interview with Sue Bird. Sue Bird's new podcast. Sabrina was the first guest, the first episode. And Sabrina spoke very highly of the Bay Area, of the Valkyries.
Yeah.
I could see it.
Yeah, I mean, imagine
like 15 minutes away from me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If New York gets second ring, then you go chase somewhere else. You go become the franchise head in Golden State.
Yeah.
Crazier things have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I do think Yusite, when she does come over, I think is some, like, at least the theory of her, she's still 19 or whatever, is exactly what this team kind of needs as it's currently constructed. Obviously it'll change, but really excited to see what she'll be doing when she gets over here.
Yeah. All right. Any last thoughts from either of you on our Golden State Valkyries fandom? Kristen?
Visa.
All day.
All right. Well, then that'll do it for our coverage of the Golden State Valkyries. Again, if you'd like to send us an email, you can do so. attackthebaseline@gmail.com or connect with us on Bluesky, Instagram at ATBPod. Next week, we will be covering the currently undefeated Minnesota Lynx. And have a friend of the pod, Gilpy, on to talk about Minnesota. So very excited for that. Tim, thank you so much for joining us again. And now
so much for having me.
Yeah, right. And now that we have a team to talk about and not just theory, it's going to be fun.
It's real.
Exactly. Yeah. No, thank you guys for having me. It's a ton of fun anytime we get to talk to you guys.
Same goes for us.
Yes.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode of Attack the Baseline. Kristen, I'm staring at the baseline. What are we going to do?
Attack it.
Attack the Baseline. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week with Minnesota.
Think you know your breaking point? If you're a woman with weak bones due to osteoporosis after menopause, sadly, you may not. Women can lose up to 20% of their bone density within 5 to 7 years after menopause, making bones weaker and more likely to break. And after the first fracture, we're 5 times more likely to break another bone within a year. It could happen from a simple slip or just bending to lift a bag of groceries. Don't wait for a breaking point. Visit bonebreakingpoint.com to learn about how osteoporosis medications can reduce the risk of fractures.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.